When I was in the 11th grade, doing well in school was the last thing on my mind. Boredom and a lot of energy is not always a great recipe, and so most of the time, I was letting all of my pent up energy loose in class. And if you're a teacher, you know all about kids like me. In my English class, I was borderline obnoxious, talking out of turn, constantly making jokes, and absolutely getting on my teacher's nerves. Now, I don't excuse that behavior at all. It was out of line, but that was me in high school. And this English teacher, Mr. Baker, had more patience than I could imagine and was constantly trying to redirect me in the most gentle ways possible. And for some reason, that just wasn't working. Can you relate to this guy at all? Well, one day in class, when the teacher wasn't looking, I took another student's backpack and I flipped it inside out. And I put all of his stuff back in and zipped it up from the inside, as one does. Well, at the end of class, this kid found his backpack like this, put two and two together, and discovered it was me who did it. And he went and told Mr. Baker. And I could see my teacher's eyes were burning with this dim fire. And he asked me to hang out in his room for a minute once everybody left. And I thought, okay, I might have taken it a little too far this time, and now I'm busted. Well, when all of the other students left the room, Baker stared me down for a solid minute and made me wait in this uncomfortable silence. And then he finally said, "Have you ever read any Stephen King?" Extremely perplexed, I said, "No, Mr. Baker, I don't like reading." And he said, "Well, he wrote this book, The Stand, and it's 1,153 pages long. For the next month, I won't make you do any schoolwork in my class as long as you are reading this book and nothing else. Do we have a deal?" Well, I looked down at this towering book, and I thought it would be impossible even to get through a few pages of it. I mean, it has really tiny font. But then I thought about what it would be like to not have any schoolwork for an entire month. So I shook Mr. Baker's hand and I reluctantly agreed to his deal. Then in class, I started reading this book. And I found myself reading it in the hallways in between classes. And I got in trouble in geometry class for reading while the teacher was lecturing. And at home, I started locking myself in my bedroom for hours at a time, tearing through this 1,153-page book. And after finishing it after 5 days, I brought Mr. Baker his book back, and I asked him if all Stephen King books were like this. I saw this wry smile show on his face, and then he handed me The Shining. And although I had to start doing English classwork again, I kept reading these books whenever I got the chance. I now had this special bond with my 11th grade teacher, and we would talk about these books that I couldn't get enough of every single day. This connection was formed. And one day when he said, "Oh, Trevor, I have got to have you read this book. It's called A River Runs Through It. And although it's not a Stephen King book, you are going to love it." Well, now I trusted him, and I devoured this one as well. Well, fast forward 18 years, and I can't go a day without reading. I now have a love affair with books, and I credit that to an English teacher who used unconventional methods to engage his students. Now, there is a lot you can take away from this story. We can talk about the connections teachers can make with their students. We could discuss literacy and how it has this power to draw students in and engage them in brand new ways. But let's zoom in on the unconventional for a moment. I'm not so sure Mr. Baker's technique of letting me off of schoolwork for a few weeks would fly in any of the schools I've ever worked in before. I'm not sure if the content in The Stand by Stephen King aligns perfectly with the SAT tests I had to take later that year. His pedagogy was unconventional and might not meet all of the standards on his teacher evaluation. But I don't care what anyone says. This English major, this English teacher, this lover of reading and literature will tell you that it was effective. So here's the question: how do we create more space for true personalized learning? I used to do this lesson when I taught World War I to my students, where I would show up to class in a traditional British officer's uniform, and we would make trenches out of all of the desks, and I would lead my students through a paper ball battle with each other. I would pause the battle at certain times, and students would write letters home to their loved ones. I'd call an armistice and give short lectures about why we were in battle and what this war was all about. And my students would make a lot of noise and have a lot of fun. Several times people would be walking by my classroom on this day and question the efficacy of my class. This kind of noise, this level of fun is pretty unconventional. But if you asked those students about what they know about World War I, or how they felt about history or English class, I bet you could determine that that lesson was effective. So what's the answer to the question, how can we create a space to make learning more unconventional, connect more with our students, and meet them where they're at to introduce a passion for learning? Well, I don't have the exact answer to that, but I do believe that that's a question that we should all be asking. And as a little side note, Mr. Baker, that teacher from 11th grade, follows this Facebook page. And so I just want to take a quick moment and thank him for introducing me to this book and essentially all of the books that I've read since then. Thanks, Mr. Baker.